Willkommen to day 3. Drei, as they say in Germany. Anyway, today is wiring day, and yeah, this van, since it's an early one, is a lot different than all the other vans that there's currently readily available wiring diagrams for. So my day today is probably going to consist of going through all of this, adding things, going through this, figuring out how to make the Subaru engine talk to the Volkswagen chassis. This connector right here, this round one, is usually called a T7. Terminal 7, I would imagine, is what it stands for. Regardless, on this particular van, there is only one. On all of the other vans from 1985 and up, this is a 1984, there are 2 of these. Now, typically, this round connector is what supplies all the powers and grounds for the engine. Seeing as I don't have that, and there are not really a whole bunch of pinouts available, I'm going off of wire colors and the Bentley manual and testing continuity on everything. I don't think it's going to be too crazy. I don't think it's any worse than doing an E30 swap. There's less wires. It's just, this is not a harness I'm familiar with, so I'm going to have to quadruple check all my bases here to make sure I don't burn this fan down. So we'll get another battery after the wiring's done, and then we can test the wiring. Luckily, Mr. Busharoo boy put in a pretty cool feature. When you connect these 2 little mamma jammas, it puts it into test mode, which tests the fuel pump relay, the main relay, I think the O2 heated sensor relay, and a bunch of stuff. It basically allows you to functionality test your harness without burning your vehicle to the ground, which is rad. So anyway, yeah, this is all of my fun stuff, and we got to get all the main power set up. I'm going to do things a little bit differently than a lot of the people do it. I'm going to do this kind of BMW style, I think, is my aim here. So basically the way BMW does this, actually we'll start it the way Volkswagen guys want you to do this. They want me to splice these wires into another set of wires and then run separate wires from the hot block to the alternator and to the starter, but that doesn't make any sense to me. So what I did was I ran the starter wire to the hot on the alternator, and then I'm going to run the hot on the alternator straight to that block. That way everybody gets power, everybody's happy. So yeah, this isn't too bad. This is like the charge dummy light. This is for the AC compressor. This is the alternator exciter wire. Both of these are going to get put onto a lug and put onto the hot block. Anyway, we'll get further into it. If you guys want to know more about this, I would be happy to post diagrams from what I did. If it works, it's going to work. So I'll post diagrams. If you guys want it, just let me know. Other than that, hopefully we can get vacuum to the brake booster today. I'm probably going to pull the tank for cleaning today since it's been sitting for 10 years. I'm sure it's very disgusting, so we'll get the tank out of it, get it sent off to get it steam cleaned and recoated and all that junk. I'll let you guys have a time lapse. If you want more specific than that, let us know, and I'll show diagrams. Anyway, getting to work. Okay, so I've got like half the wiring done at this point, and I'm trying to check for keyed ignition on sources, ignition on like 12 volt sources. So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is have him recycle the key, and I am going to be watching the voltmeter over here. But before we do that, I'm just going to have him connect the battery while I watch everything, just to make sure there's nothing stupid that happens. So I guess go ahead, Hamish.
Alright, touching terminal.
Seems okay.
I got a light on inside here.
Oh hey, look at that. There's a light. Wait, do you still have it connected?
No, I took it off.
Okay, let me know when it's back on so I can...
Okay, it's on and fairly in place.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay, cool. I am in fact getting 12 volts at the post back here. So that's good.
Good.
Okay, so now let me check this for power, and then I'll have you cycle it. I believe this should be keyed on 12 volts, so go ahead, key on. What the... What is that noise?
That's just like, you know, they do that on old cars.
Alright, turn it off. Cool, okay, well that in fact is an ignition source. So, we're doing good. Nothing melted, nothing smoky, nothing's being weird. So, now I know that this little guy is gonna be my fella. So, next thing I'm gonna do is when AutoZone shows up at some point with my parts, speaking of which,
Howdy, howdy.
wow, that was shockingly good timing. I was literally just about to talk shit about you guys. Kidding.
Timing.
Here's the missing elements. Dude, this means we can actually turn it over now.
Alright.
So, let's
disconnect terminal just for now?
yeah, do it for now, so that way while I'm wiring I don't touch anything stupid. Thank you. Good call. Alright, so first things first, we're going to put a 15 amp inline on the ignition, and we're going to put a 30 amp inline on the battery to ECU power source. And then theoretically on starting fluid this motor should run. It's not going to run on its own juice, but it should run on fluid.
Run it will.
Okay. Okay, so we are going to test the wiring harness now, or at least all critical functions, and to see if it turns over and does things that it's supposed to do, you know, like turns over. In theory, should be good. I might get power steering fluid shot at me. Let me put a rag over this. And then let's go key on.
Key on.
Hey, holy shit. The engine's like doing things.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it making noises?
Yeah, the throttle body was like, what do you want? Okay,
Yeah,
do you want to turn the key and see if it turns over?
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah, go for it. All right.
There we go.
Dude, I think we might have a runner. Let me spray a titload of brake fluid in here and hopefully it doesn't backfire and catch the van on fire.
Alright.
Let's see here. Okay, give that a shot.
You ready?
Yeah, if it starts, don't run it for long, just turn it off.
Yeah.
Or it'll probably die anyway because I'm not going to keep supplying it.
That's true.
Yeah, go ahead. Alright!
Start it right up, man.
It runs!
Look at your wiring, man.
Hell yeah, brother!
You're killing it.
Figured it out. Alright, we're going to have to do that one more time for Richard.
Okay.
Hey,
Hey, Richard, how are you?
I'm just sitting here watching your video that Gus sent to me.
All right, excellent. Well, speaking of which, as long as you're okay with it, this phone call is going to be on one of the videos too.
Fine.
So the reason I'm calling you, I'm going to leave you on speaker here. I want you to hear something exciting. Go ahead, Hamish.
Going.
She runs. All right, cool. It runs. Haha. Excellent. Oh, geez. Now what do I need to do? I should probably finish wiring it, and then I'm actually a little surprised that it started so easy off this bullshit ground. You ought to see this. This is literally. I think this came off of the. No, I know exactly what this came off. This came off the Subaru. I think this was for something else, but anyway, yeah, I'm surprised that carried enough current to start this thing. Okay, so finish wiring, plumb vacuum, sort coolant, sort throttle body, clean gas tank, install new fuel pump. Those are the main things. There's 6 main things
You're
left.
done, but you're not done.
Yeah, it's very not done, but almost kind of but it runs, and that's the exciting part. That's where the motivation comes in. As you may or may not have heard me mention earlier, the 1985 and later vans have different wiring. Now, if you're doing this, that makes your life very easy. Here, I'll even show you the pinout for it right now because Buster sent it to me. Here's your pinout, okay? This is on the video. I will leave it here for a second so you guys can pause the video if you want, if you're actually doing this. There's the pinout for what's called the T7, is what everybody tends to call it, Terminal 7. So now, on the earlier vans, luckily the wire colors are predominantly the same, a few slight differences. But I have been going off the wire colors so far, and the difference is pretty basic. It just uses a bunch of individual connectors. So like right here, this is ignition key on. I'm basically using this to power the ECU, so the ECU knows when to turn on. This battery wire right here, no, where? Oh yeah, I ran the main battery wire off the alternator post because I have the alternator going straight to the hot block. I kind of did more of a BMW style charging system rather than a Volkswagen or a Subaru style. Either way, it doesn't matter, it works. So this you can run to your hot block right here. This is just the 12 volt source. It's just a big terminal with a bunch of wires going to it. 30 amp fuse in line with that, so if anything stupid happens, basically what this fuse is controlling is it controls your main relay, your fuel pump relay, and all the powers to your ECU. So if there's a bad circuit in any of those three, it'll blow the fuse before it fries your wiring. So that's good. I've also got a 15 amp fuse in line with the ignition. This mainly powers the ECU. So if your ECU gets shorted out or something, or water gets in it or something weird, again, you won't fry your harness, you'll just pop a fuse. No big deal. Each of these main little individual connectors are what you need to worry about. They all, on the original harness, connect to this. And as you can tell, I've been chopping off connectors as necessary to make things a little bit cleaner. So this is basically just an intermediate harness that originally goes to the Vanagon water boxer, as it's called, as it were. And then just as you match wire colors, you can just chop these off and then it plugs right in. So you can basically make yourself a plug and play harness here. Not too crazy. Again, we did cheat a little bit because we paid Busteroo to make the harness for us, so I wouldn't have to spend 16 hours rifling through wires and pinning things out. So recommend doing that if you're doing this swap.
Worth it.
It's worth it. He doesn't charge an insane amount of money. I think it's like $500, no big deal. But yeah, so anyway, on to vacuum and intake and water and fuel and shift linkage and gas tank and things of that nature. So yeah, pressing on. See you there. So if you can't tell by the mess on the floor, I just got done pulling the fuel tank, and holy bejesus was it nasty. This car, before we got it, had been sitting for about 10 years. So right now what I'm going to do is take the radiator out to get it steam cleaned and internally coated. I didn't want to stink my car up, so I have it strapped to the roof of my car right now, which is pretty rad. I don't know if
sick.
Kind of funny, but anyway.
Yeah,
Hopefully I don't spill old nasty gas all over it. If I do, I don't really care. The paint's terrible anyway. So we're gonna get that cleaned. I don't know how long that's gonna take, but the guy is literally like 5 minutes up the street, and I think he's the last dude in Denver that agrees to do this. So that's cool. Hopefully he continues to do it if we need it again. As with any fuel system that's been sitting forever, we are going to replace the pump and the filter. This filter is actually pretty legit, so I don't think I'm gonna run the Subaru filter. I'll probably delete that again. Replace the pump. We're going to replace all the lines all the way to the engine and from the engine, because as you can tell, these are all like super crusty, not rubbery, terrible, shitty lines. So when that's done, hopefully we can get this thing running on its fuel today. One of the remaining wires that I did not do, that I've been waiting on this for, so this right here is a proximity sensor. Basically, it's kind of like a Hall effect sensor, but it's going to bolt basically right here, and it runs off of, or which way is it? Anyway, regardless, it bolts to the transmission. Maybe it's right here, I forget, but it reads, believe it or not, the bolts on the CV axle for a vehicle speed sensor. So that's what this is vehicle speed sensor. It's not a light, it's not a button. I'm dumb. I didn't know what I was talking about in the first video, but now I know. Anyway, so I got to do that, and then there is a yellow wire coming off of the Subaru fuel pump relay. So if you're doing this swap, the yellow and blue wire running from the Subaru harness is your basically output wire. So you're going to cut this one and splice your Subaru wire into the hot wire, which is black, weirdly, on the Volkswagen. But so you're going to go black to yellow and blue. And then that way when your Subaru engine detects engine speed, it kicks on the fuel pump and everything's happy. So pretty easy, no big deal. So when I get the pump out, I'm probably just going to go ahead and replace the wire because it's really crusty and nasty and old. Then we'll splice in our Subaru wire, install a new pump, install a new filter, and this should run on its own fuel, and then we can actually test run it and stuff. Okay, so last you saw me, I was gonna go get the tank boiled. That didn't happen. I won't get into it, but let's just say don't go to A1 radiator service. I'll go ahead and say it. Screw you, guy. Anyway, so he screamed me out of his parking lot, so we didn't do that. So I went and bought another tank, but it won't be here till tomorrow. So as a result, I have replaced every soft line, the fuel pump, the fuel filter, hooked everything up on the van, and got the return run back into this very scientific location right here. So that way, well, let me back up here. We're gonna test it by running it off of a fuel jug, just because I wanna know if the tank works and if the engine runs on its own fuel, which hopefully it does. So basically it goes out of the can into this little square thing that's made in Israel. I don't know what it is, I'll be honest with you. Swirl pot of some sort, don't know. Into the pump. Pump is controlled by the Subaru ECU, which I still gotta tuck these wires a little better, but out of the filter, goes up into the firewall. There's this little nipple thingy, goes into the rail, through the motor. Motor uses what it needs, comes back down here from this hard line and squirts into the can. Or at least That's the idea. I think I need to move the can because I moved the car. But anyway, so yeah, Hamish is gonna help me test the fuel system, and hopefully it more or less starts right up and runs good. We'll find out here shortly.
In theory.
In theory.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the first fuel system operational test. Everything should be hooked up. Sergey did a good job last night after he tried twice. If you're unfamiliar with Sergey, you should definitely check out the DBO Instagram or my Instagram. Either one. He makes frequent appearances. Okay, it's doing things.
All sounds good.
Turn over, see what happens. Try it again.
Yep, just prime it. Sounded like throttle body doing things. Alright, again?
Oh, I can hear the pump running.
Okay, again?
Go ahead, yeah. What's up?
All day-ish.
Oh. I don't hear or see any leaks either, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna open the door to get all the fumes out, but I wanna see this thing idle for 30 seconds. Runs really good. That runs mint.
Not an issue at all.
No, fires right up, runs nice, idles nice.
Sweet.
And no fuel leaks from what, oh no, we got a fuel leak.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Oh, that's sad.
yeah, that's a sad day.
The lift door?
It's coming from something that I didn't do though, so that's
Good day.
good. It looks like the old hardline might be leaking. Yeah, so, okay, cool. Well, Richard, your van runs on its own fuel, so that's cool. It's gonna have an entirely new fuel system, so it'll be reliable. No nasty stuff in the tank. All the wiring is nice. Now we just gotta do coolant, and I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb and guess that we're gonna need to do brakes after it's been sitting for 10 years, but we'll find out. Maybe we can do the old 50 roll slam on the brakes, get the rust off trick. I don't know, but it runs really good, so that's cool. And doesn't leak, we found out, because it has been run several times now for test starts, and it's not leaking a drop. There's a little bit of old power steering fluid that leaked down the timing cover that scared me, but other than that, she's minty dry, which is awesome. So, very exciting stuff. Okay, so I believe we're gonna go ahead and conclude it for this episode, just so we can keep pumping out content for you guys, but I'm gonna be waiting on those coolant hard pipes and the fuel tank to get here tomorrow. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that episode 4, I believe we're on, after this one. This is gonna be episode 3.
Yep.
So episode 4 most likely will be this van driving out of the shop, because there's not a whole lot left to do. I don't want to get too crazy here, but I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to test drive it in episode 4. So stay tuned, guys. We're getting there. It's almost done. I appreciate everybody's support. Remember, we've got a Patreon. The more patrons we get, the less monotonous stuff we can do and the more exciting stuff we can do. You guys want to do something, and we got a bunch of patrons, and we can afford to do it, I'll do it. I literally don't care.
Hashtag Sergey will do it.
Hashtag call up Sergey. He'll do your stuff for you.
Yeah.
You guys should definitely check out the DBO Instagram. It's in the link, so click below. Anyway, thank you for support. Click on our Patreon, like, comment, subscribe, and hope you guys have a good evening. Cheers.